I was lucky enough to chat with Oskar Wetterbrandt, an ex-DICE gameplay animator and one of the animators currently at Embark Studios working on the finals. I've gotten to know Oskar through YouTube and he was super kind enough to chat to me about how a lot of the gameplay animation is done for a game like Battlefield. Oskar is also one of the devs behind the infamous secret reload animations, so I knew I just had to ask him about those. I love chatting with game creators, and this interview felt like the natural next step after interviewing Nicholas Hansen a few months ago. The more players know about how games are made, the better. So please, sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and hopefully you'll learn something new. My first question for Oskar was a nice simple one. I asked him what his first Battlefield game was.
I remember me and my brother had a subscription for PC Gamer back in the day. We all got like a demo for 1942. So I did play that, but then I would say the first proper game that I actually played a bunch was Battlefield 1.
Okay,
That's
1942
when I really
all the way
got
to Battlefield 1, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people have joined the series with BF1.
Yeah, I think so too. No, I actually, fun story, I bought a computer specifically to play Battlefield 3. But then I couldn't run it because the computer was overheating all the time. So I bought it's like my first gaming computer, and then I bought Battlefield 3, and I could just run it for like 15 minutes. And the computer crashed every time.
That game was something else. Like 2011, it still holds up today. Like it looks so good. But it took.
I remember the marketing for it as well. It was really cool.
Oh my god, it was so good. I followed this up by asking what his favorite Battlefield game was.
Well, I think my favorite, like the game that I spent the most hours in, is Battlefield 1. And this is probably super controversial, but I love War Pigeons. I think War Pigeons is like the best game mode in BF1. There was something, I played just War Pigeons for like 6 months with just a bolt-action rifle without a scope, and that was like the best 6 months of my Battlefield gaming career ever. Yeah,
I'm sure. I think a lot of people are actually gonna be happy to hear that. Next, I wanted to confirm something I see online all the time. Do DICE developers actually play their own games?
I mean, it's super individual, of course. So one boring answer is that yes, we play the games at work. Like we play tests several times a week. Like it's different in different game studios. Some game studios have like mandatory play tests every day. Some game studios have it like twice a week or whatever. Like it's different. But of course, we have to play the product that we're actually making.
Yeah.
But then like on the spare time, like yes, I played both BF5 and 2042 as well on my spare time. No, just like of course, if you work on a game, like you work 8 hours a day at least on a game, and you play test several times a week. Like maybe you want to do something else in the afternoon.
That's what I was going to ask. Is like, does it not like feel like work when you're at home and you're like, oh god?
It can. It can be like, oh shit, I should fix that bug. Yeah, exactly. I should fix that bug. You're seeing things that's like, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow or whatever. Or I already fixed it, but it's going to come in the patch in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Moving on, I wanted to know how Oskar started, what he did at DICE at the very beginning.
So first I was an animation intern for 5 months, I think, and then I got hired as an animator and worked there for 5 years.
And that was working on BF5, right?
The first project was BF1, They Shall Not Pass, the first expansion pack there.
The best one.
Yeah, exactly.
It was.
Yeah, so I was an intern there, and then I got hired as an animator. And like when I started, it was very open. It's like, yeah, we need animation help. Like that's the general like sentiment. And then I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're making first-person games. Like, can I make first-person stuff? And they were like, yeah, sure. Do it. Yeah, I wanted to animate weapons because that's on screen all the time and that's what you see. So I want to see my work because it's fun to make stuff that people see. And then I just kind of got stuck in that corner and continue doing that. Like it's super fun. I loved it. Still love doing it. Other stuff too. I've done like vehicle enters exits for BF1 and BF5 and stuff. But for 2042, like we did a very big like rehaul with the animation systems, and I was quite involved in setting up like how we actually like the systems for how the guns are animated and implemented. And that was really fun.
Obviously, very few of us know what gameplay animation is, so that was my next question.
Mainly, it's anything interactable. It's like moving your character or like you're doing an action and it's triggered by your input in the game. That's like the gameplay animator part. But you can also work on like AI, like background characters and such.
Right, okay.
Like when it's interactable and things can happen on the fly.
Yeah,
and
if it's a result of like a player doing an input.
Exactly. Even if it's an AI doing something in result of your inputs, then that's still part of the gameplay animation stuff.
Okay.
Mainly over the years, I've just worked with first person and like weapon handling stuff, firing and reloading and such. And I would say up until BF5, we used mocap for third person. Like when you look at some other player and what they do, that's all based on mocap. But then first person was all hand animated, like hand keyed. And then on 2042, we tried to like merge them a little bit. We tried to like make assets that like all of the reload animations, for instance, are based on mocap in 2042. And we try to like pose it for the camera, but also for third person. So you can use the same asset for both, basically.
If you see a teammate reload, it's the same action in third person and first person.
Yeah, it's the same animation, the same
Okay.
literal file that's being played. And then you can still take like mocap data from some other reload on like the entire body, and then you just animate the weapon and the hands manually, basically. So you get some like movement in the
So
body.
you're kind of, you're melding the two, hand animation and mocap. And
Yeah,
did you do
exactly.
the mocap for a lot of the weapons in 2042?
Yeah, I did it for the all-out warfare weapons. I did it for basically everything. I think there was some other guy in the suit once for like 4 or 5 weapons, but then I used that mocap data
And you did the animation
work for the game.
in-game.
Yeah, exactly.
So technically what you're saying is when we're all playing Battlefield 2042 and we reload essentially any all-out warfare gun, we're playing as you.
Well, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
You are the specialist, Oskar.
I wanted to know what made Battlefield 2042 animation different, so I asked Oskar to elaborate.
All the way up to BF5, it's kind of been working on a continuation of the previous projects. I think all the way back since BF3. It's not the same project. It's like copies, and then we're like polishing stuff and changing stuff. But after like project after project after project, like after a few projects like that, it gets kind of messy.
Okay,
just
right.
because you're fixing something and then that's connected to something else, and it's like an old fix that's from like 2 games ago or whatever.
Right,
And
okay.
so at some point, it's just like
Let's
kind of
start
a
fresh.
house of cards, and like you're changing one thing and then
Yeah,
everything breaks.
Okay.
So it was kind of nice to start fresh and try to think procedurally. So we implemented this thing where if we move the foregrip on the weapon, then hand just like automatically follows it. So we don't have to like update the hand pose and the foregrip pose.
And that wasn't something in the past games. That's only in
No.
2042.
Yeah, then you have to like manually fix that. Try to think like that. Oh, like we'll add a new foregrip to the game, then we can just make one hand pose for it, and we've tagged all of the animations for all the weapons.
Very
so like
cool.
any hand pose can work for any weapon, and yeah,
That's
stuff
cool.
like that. So like try to think a bit smarter and procedurally. How can we make this
Yeah, put in the effort at the
kind
start.
of just work? Like,
Yeah.
of course, there's bugs in the game, but a bunch of things are just easier for us as developers.
Yeah, you put like
No.
you develop all these new systems at the start, and then maybe it cuts down on work later on
Yeah,
during the live
exactly.
service when you really just need content going out. That's cool.
Yeah.
Getting into the specifics, I asked what goes into creating a weapon reload animation.
I mean, it's super different per weapon. But yeah, like we're doing from an animation standpoint, there's a bunch of YouTube videos I have to look at. It's like, oh, I'm going to animate this weapon. How does it actually work? And then you Google it, you look at YouTube, you maybe find some schematics or whatever of how the weapon mechanics actually work. Yeah, and just like do research that way. Then I always try to look at unique features as well. So for instance, the grand thumb, it's like, oh, you have to load the grand this specific way. If you don't, you can get the thumb stuck. So I found out about that and thought like, oh, that's a fun Easter egg to add into the game. Like that can happen sometimes or whatever. For instance, on the MP40 for BF5 as well, I animated this like when you take out the magazine like from your chest pocket. German soldiers or whatever, they store their magazine pouches. They had the magazines upside down on their chest. So I was like, oh, let's just fix that on that weapon. I'm gonna add it as a nice detail where you kind of pull it up from the center of the screen and then like regrip it a little bit. And
Oskar's answer to this next question was quite a surprise. How long does creating a weapon reload animation take?
up until BF5, when we hand keyed all of the first person stuff, then it would take at least a few days, like maybe a week or 2 weeks, like minimum for a weapon, I would say. Now that we started mocapping stuff for 2042 as well, and I've gotten quite used to that process of mocapping and using the mocap, then it can be just like an animation a day or something.
Damn, you get a whole gun done in one day.
Yeah, but that's still like that's just the reload animations.
That's
and
just
then
the
it's
reload
super,
animation, yeah.
and then it's super dependent on so many other things. It's like, oh, this weapon works in this other way or whatever, and we don't have mocap data for that. Then we have to go and record that, and that takes time in of itself. And then I don't know, maybe we want more versions of it. Whatever. There's more things that can work as well.
And
so
then,
just because if I can animate 2 reloads in 2 days or something, that doesn't mean that the weapon takes 2 days. Like it's a lot of like back and forth with 3D and audio and stuff as well.
On a personal note, I asked Oskar what his favorite reload animation was.
I loved animating the revolver for 2042. It was just really fun coming up with that sequence, like how to save the bullets.
That's your favorite one, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I love that animation. It's
because it's different. I assume you have to like build a system for it, like depending on how many bullets are left in the revolver.
Yeah,
right?
so we basically have duplicate meshes. We have like one mesh for a fired round when it's just an empty shell, and just one with a full like bullets in it as well.
Yeah.
So we have like 12 bullets in the 6-chambered revolver.
Empty and
Exactly. And then I just animated all of the bullets. I think first you like throw it out, and then
Yeah.
all of the unfired like rounds just land in your arm or in your hand. So there's actually 6 shells landing in your hand, and then you're pushing out the 6 empty ones. And then I just have a system that hides and shows the correct amount.
Wow.
Like on top of that. That's also part of the weapon animation, like what you do as a gameplay animator. So it's like, yeah, I'm just making one animation, but then I'm setting up a system of hiding and showing bullets because that's saving us work. We don't have to make 12 animations or whatever. It's like the best part of the job, I think, to like combine the problem solving and the technical implementation and just the fun animating bit.
Now on to the fun stuff. I asked about the secret reload animations in Battlefield games.
Well, it's really fun, of course. I mean, so all of the secret reloads are made just on spare time, like on weekends or after work or whatever, just because it's fun. It's like you have to be excited about the idea. It's like, oh, the telekinesis thing. I just like, that would be cool. Just do basically the same. So the telekinesis, for instance, I just took the standard reloads for the M1 Garand. Like all of the weapon parts are already moved. They have animation data, and I just kind of moved the weapon out, and I just animated the hands. So it's the exact same timing.
Right.
So it's like it's not affecting gameplay at all. It's not faster or slower.
It just
or
looks
anything.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. So in Hardline and BF1, I think all of the Easter egg reloads, they were just like a random animation that was triggered like once in a million or whatever when you reloaded. So I really wanted to like make something, like take it to the next level basically in terms of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So what if you can equip like a whole Easter egg gun where like the whole animation set is just a big Easter egg basically. So I just started animating it like by myself, just like, yeah, this is fun. And then I showed it to the audio team and they're like, oh, that's super fun. Now let's record our own voices and whatever. Like there's people from the dev team that have voices for the bang and the pow and whatever.
So they're actual devs saying those words.
Yeah, I think I have the pew, for instance. That's my voice.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's like, okay, so we have this whole animation set. How should we implement it in the game? And then we talked to some game designers, and they figured out this way with all of the boxes with the shovels and whatever.
And stuff like that, yeah.
But it's all made like on the spare time, like after work, because we think it's fun. Basically, all of these tricks they have to be approved by the legal team, so we don't like do anything inappropriate or whatever. But generally, it's very open and like you can do kind of whatever because it's just a whack. It's a wacky random thing. Yeah, exactly.
And then on to the specific animations Oskar did himself. For BF5, you did the Garand Thumb, you did the telekinesis, you did the handgun.
Yeah, that's about it. But I did one more as well. I did the heel click, the incidental heel click.
Oh yeah, I always forget about the heel click actually.
Yes,
what's the story behind that? Like that's so random. Like I've never seen it once, and I was like, wait, what? You get to double take.
It wasn't my idea. Like I think it was the first motion capture recording session that I was in, and we had like some stuntmen recording like, oh, a building is falling on top of me and just like crumbling down on a mattress or whatever. And then by the end of that, he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do a heel click because it's fun. So he just ran and like jumped and did that thing. And then we had the mocap data for it. And then I think no one really did anything with it for quite a while. But then we added these like, if you run in mud, you can like slip in the mud a little bit. And I think the implementation for that is like, if the person you're looking at is on your team, so it's not someone that you're trying to aim and shoot at because that would interfere with gameplay.
Yeah.
So if it's a friendly and he's running on this specific kind of ground, like mud or ice or whatever, then every third second we trigger like an incidental animation.
Yeah, the heel click, that's awesome. Wait, it wasn't Nicholas Hansen by any chance.
I think it might have been actually.
No
Nicholas.
way!
Yeah. I just took the mocap data. I asked my lead, like, oh, can I just add this? He's like, yeah, sure, do it. So I just fixed the mocap a little bit and then put it in and had it to like 0.1% or whatever. And then I think it triggered like the day after we released the game or something. Like almost immediately it was up on Reddit because...
Yeah. No, we're vigilant players. We spot things. For anyone inspired or interested further, I asked Oskar what someone should do to get involved with gameplay animation and the industry as a whole.
I would say, first off, like if you're just interested in video game development and you don't really know where to start, just start. Like it's easy for me to say, but yeah, basically, because there's so much that you can learn. So and that can be overwhelming. So just start in one corner. Like look at some YouTube tutorials. Like there's courses like Animation Mentor or iAnimate that I haven't used them myself, but I've heard of other people that use them and they're happy with them. And you can watch YouTube videos. You can download Blender. It's like a free animation software. And then as well on top of that, like download Unreal Engine or Unity and just like,
start playing.
Start doing stuff and just getting comfortable with what is game animation logic or whatever. I would also just as an like animator, the animation part. So I have like two tips. Just the first one is to study the animation principles from Disney, which are in The Illusion of Life. It's like a book written by the old Disney animators back in the day, like hand animators, and also the the animators survival kits by Richard Williams.
Okay,
it's another book that's really helpful to like get into animation and getting to know like how animation itself,
like the principles
works,
of
basically.
animation, kind of.
Yeah, which is applicable to like movies or games or whatever. If you're just animating, it's the same knowledge base, basically.
Very cool. But so you're kind of saying if you have the passion for it, there are resources for free like Blender and YouTube.
Yeah, there is.
And you just have to have that passion essentially to push yourself into it.
Once again, a massive thank you to Oskar for chatting with me and being so open about the behind the scenes of game development and gameplay animation. I have all of Oskar's socials and work linked down below. Please do follow him and just tell him how great he is. I found it most interesting to know how much work went into redesigning the core systems for Battlefield 2042. Something seemingly as simple as the foregrip for a weapon had to be designed from the ground up to work with multiple skins. It's also sort of nuts that all of the base weapon animations were motion captured by Oskar himself. Like I said, the more players know about how games are made, the better. We can't be expected to know everything because we don't have to, but a little bit of know-how might make things a little bit easier. As a creator here on YouTube, my job has been to convey your feelings and opinions to the developers, so I think it's only fair that the devs share their voice as well. So if you have any experience working in the gaming industry and feel like sharing something, please get in touch. I'd love to learn and share what you have to say. And to you watching, I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. That's my only goal here. Thanks for watching, stay safe, make sure you check out Oskar's work, and I'll see you later.